Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So I want to talk about Daryl Dixon Season 3 and break down the recent trailer that we actually got. I wasn't expecting this. The trailer looks good, I will say. I wasn't expecting this to actually come out, but we did actually get it, and I think that's one of the things that's really awesome about them filming like a year beforehand is that, I mean, first of all, it seems like it does take a bit longer for them to actually put out these seasons because, I mean, these spin-offs look amazing, right? Like, it's the best that The Walking Dead has looked really ever, and so it makes sense that in terms of the effects and like other work in post-production that you're gonna have to take some time to actually work on this. And I mean, yeah, obviously the season isn't coming out for another like what 10 months, I'm assuming, because it's probably going to be in September of next year. But yeah, we already got our first look at that, and I'm really excited about that. I think that that is very smart for the show. Like, you do want to promote the show right away. You do want to let other people know that, you know, like, the show is coming out, because that's one of the things that is really a big issue with the spinoffs, and I've noticed this complaint a lot, is, you know, the fact that it is only 6 episodes and it ends so fast in terms of the story for the season. And not even that, like, just ignoring that part to it, the story is rushed and there's a lot of issues, right? I think in season 2 we saw a lot of that, and usually with The Walking Dead you would have to wait like a couple of months or whatever for the next season, but with this show now we have to wait like almost a year for the next season. I mean, obviously it's like 10 months, and then there is promotion a couple of months beforehand. We are going to get like other teasers here and there, like when Dead City is finished airing, I'm sure we'll get a teaser at that point as well, probably throughout that. So like, we are going to see a lot more from this show, you know, a few months beforehand. And so obviously the focus right now is going to be on some of the Daryl Dixon season 3 stuff here, but also on Dead City season 2. And I mean, that show looks really amazing. So yeah, if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this, definitely make sure to be a subscriber. Now, they did actually confirm here in the trailer, which I was very, very excited to see, that the show is going to be called The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 3. So they're not going to be calling it like another subtitle or anything like that. It's just going to be season 3. And honestly, I feel like season 2, like, I'll do an overall review at some point this week of the whole entire season, but that really was my issue overall with season 2, was that it was a big story that was wrapped up way too soon, and there was a lot of disappointing endings for a lot of characters and a lot of storylines. The finale was great. I really liked where the season went, you know, by the very last episode, but I think the middle part of the season was just really not the best, and also where the season started was kind of messy overall. And if you just look at the title, The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol, I feel like that title just perfectly explains the season. Like, it was just, there was too much of a story, and it was just too messy sort of throughout, and it got better towards the end, but I think it's because the story became a lot more condensed to like 1 or 2 storylines. And so now going into season 3, you know, we have really exciting elements of like Laurent and Ash at the Commonwealth, and like if they come back with the CRM, Cadrone and his return, right? Because he's out there somewhere, so at some point he's gonna, I'm sure, show up in season 3 or 4. That's what you want with the show. You want mystery with some of the characters, because it's not like the show's ending right now, right? Like, I saw a lot of complaints about that with Cadrone's story, but I'll talk about that in a video where I talk about all that more in depth. But let's actually get into the season 3 trailer here. So the trailer begins with them in London, and based off of a lot of what they were saying for episode 1, it looks like in the very first episode they're going to be in London, and I think that at some point by the end of the episode they're going to end up in Spain. And so I'm really excited about this first episode, because I think it's going to be very similar to the very first episode of Daryl Dixon season 1, where we saw Daryl explore France, and I think that it'll be very similar in that way, where they're going to be exploring London. I think they're going to try to find a way out here and then eventually end up in Spain somehow. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to happen yet. I mean, there's a lot of different ways it can happen, right? But this does confirm, though, you know, in terms of how season 2 ends, that Daryl and Carol are going to make it out of that tunnel, and they're going to be traveling to London. They actually will be in London trying to find a way to get back to America. They come across this new character here played by Stephen Merchant, and so he was cast recently, and yeah, really cool to actually see him here in the episode. It looks like he's going to be a 1-episode character, though. I thought that he might be a part of it for a lot longer, but based off of a lot of what they were saying about the character and also working with Stephen Merchant, I think it was just sort of a 1-episode thing. So I'm expecting that maybe he dies in this episode, or maybe he's just sort of there to somehow, you know, get Daryl and Carol, I mean, not necessarily to America, but maybe something happens where I think that they are going to get on a boat, but somehow they end up in Spain, and so maybe he's involved in some way. But yeah, really cool to actually see this here. And in terms of that boat, we actually do see this boat right here, and so they are traveling here, and I imagine, I mean, first of all, I will just say, like, I don't know if a boat like that can actually get across the ocean. Like, I really don't know. I don't have any sort of knowledge on that, but I just feel like it's probably not going to happen. I mean, obviously we know that they're not going to make it there, and maybe something happens where eventually eventually they're just sort of forced to go to Spain because this boat's just not going to make it. Like, I just feel like that makes the most sense because I just don't think they're going to be able to make it to America on this boat. And I'm not sure what happened with Madame Gene's ships. Like, that's the one thing that I will say too in terms of all of that. Like, why aren't they trying to like convince Pouvoir to allow them to use a ship to get back to America? Like, I know that I guess there is the whole Laurent aspect to it, but a lot of Pouvoir is basically sort of finished at this point. And by the end of season 2, they all had to leave because it just got too dangerous, I think. Like, even though a lot of Pouvoir in the nest, like, they're gone now, I think that there are going to be people out there that aren't going to like Daryl and Carol, so that's why they had to leave overall. But I think that, I don't know why that wasn't brought up, because she has like these massive ships, right? And they travel from America to France all the time, or like back and forth, right? So I just think that, yeah, you could have easily have done that, or at least brought that up. Like, could we do that kind of thing, right? But yeah, then we see Daryl here, and at this point, he actually is in Spain, and this is really honestly just insane in terms of the show's tone overall. Like, it has changed so dramatically here. Like, we have a shot here of Daryl, you know, riding in the desert here, and this is honestly really incredible. Like, I think that's one of the things that the show's really going to benefit from, because first of all, this show just feels totally different, and that's one of the things that, in terms of ending the France storyline in season 2, I'm totally okay with, because I think that you need to keep things fresh a lot, and obviously on The Walking Dead, you would end arcs after a season or 2, right? So it makes sense that eventually they were going to do that. I just think that the way they handled it was really bad, but the transition from France to Spain, I think, is going to be done really well, and just seeing Daryl riding his motorcycle here in the desert, like, just really amazing. Honestly, the first thing I thought about though was, I mean, this is really one of the first times we're ever going to see The Walking Dead like in the desert. And what I thought about was Andrew Lincoln talking about how he would like to see Rick Grimes' story end, which is basically there's a bunch of walkers in a desert and he's the last person to be alive. And so he's walking through the desert or whatever, and then eventually he finds out that he's the cure. And yeah, there's this whole thing, and it just sounds so epic. And so when I saw Daryl like in the desert, that was the first thing I thought of. Like, I wonder if they're going to do something like that in terms of Daryl, like not a cure storyline or anything like that, but just trying to get away from a bunch of walkers and he's walking through the desert kind of thing. I think that would be kind of a cool nod to, you know, what Andrew Lincoln talked about, you know, however many years ago that was. And so yeah, just really cool in terms of, you know, the show just being very different now. Like, it almost feels like a Western, I will say. And so I think that that's going to be really exciting. I think that the show will change quite a bit tonally from season 1 and 2. And a lot of people were really excited about that. Like, that was the first thing that I saw, you know, in terms of a reaction to this, was like, whoa, this looks way better than anything we've gotten so far. And so I'm really excited about that. I can't wait to see a lot more from this show. And so yeah, we do see Carol here. And at some point when they get to Spain, this is probably what, episode 2, I'm assuming. It's not going to be episode 1. Like, I think a lot of the shots that we're seeing here, this is episodes 1 and 2. It's not going to be episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6, because I don't think they're filming that right now. Maybe they're on episode 3 or 4, but I think that's probably going to be it. And so a lot of this is probably from episode 2 in terms of, you know, what we see from Spain. And I think episode 1 is going to be a lot of, you know, like the London scenes and stuff, and trying to get to Spain eventually, which eventually they will get there. But yeah, we do see Carol here, and she's reacting to some sort of ceremony that's happening here. And so I guess we're going to have to wait and see what this group is about. You know, are they celebrating walkers? Like, there's going to be something different here about this group that's going to be different. And I do wonder what Gimple has come up with, or David Zabel has come up with, in terms of creating a new group, right? Because that's always one of the interesting aspects to like learning about a new group, is like how they view walkers and how they handle the apocalypse overall. But we then see this character right here. I don't know who this character is, but the character's riding this horse here down the train tracks here. And so maybe at this point, Daryl and Carol are following this character. But at first I thought that this was Daryl. Like, I just thought that this is Daryl basically with a cowboy hat on, because it just kind of seems like it. But I mean, it would be so cool if this was like Rick Grimes' brother. I know that, I mean, that's the thing, like going into season 3 here, because they are going to Spain, this is going to be something that does come up quite a bit. It's going to be such a huge talking point going into this season. Like, are they going to get into that storyline? Because Rick Grimes' brother is in Spain in the comics. And so again, like I always mention that in the comic, Rick never talked about his brother once, but he was there. And obviously on the show, like, he's never talked about his brother once. And so his brother could be in Spain as well. So it would be really interesting. I don't know how they could pull a story like that off. I think it is possible, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But then we see Carol here take out this walker. I'm not sure where she's at this point. And then we see a new character here, which I'm assuming he's probably the leader of this place. Maybe he's reacting to Daryl and Carol showing up here and he's wondering like, who is this? I don't know if he knows about Pouvoir and what's going on over there. Like, I don't know how much they know of what happened in France. Like, that's going to be really interesting to hear them talk about. I'm sure there's going to be some references to a lot of that, but yeah, really cool character though. I can't wait to see, you know, a lot more from him. And then we see some walkers here, which I'm assuming is in London, just based off of this street, because I saw a lot of what they were filming in the very first episode anyways, because when they announced that they were filming season 3, they were all in an environment like this, and there was walkers here, and it was just like down one street like this, and so I'm assuming that this is going to be London, and this will be a part of the very first episode. So yeah, but we then see Daryl here at some point. I don't know if this is after he gets out of the tunnel, or maybe he's getting very close to Spain, but if you actually look on the very left, he is chained to something. So whatever problem is happening here, whatever villain they're setting up here for season 3, like I think we're starting to see the beginning of it here, so really cool. We then see Daryl and Carol talking here. It looks like they're in Spain at this point. I'm not sure what happened to Carol. Looks like she got hurt, and yeah, they're just talking about, I thought it was going to be over, but here we are. That's sort of a reference, I would say, to the show overall. Like, you sort of never knew that these characters would still be around, you know, however many years later, and it's just really amazing that they are. So yeah, I'm really excited for The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 3. I think this season could honestly be one of the best seasons of the show so far, which I know is crazy to say because we've just seen this, but just based off of the tone, like, again, going into season 2, I was excited, but I wasn't that excited because of the whole 6-episode aspect. And as we got into more of the season, I just think that, I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of season 2. I'm really not. But I think that going into season 1 of Daryl Dixon, I was really excited about that. And that season, you know, was really incredible. It introduced France, and it was just, in terms of the tone of the show and all the new exciting elements, you know, it was really amazing. And so I think that for season 3, it's going to be very similar to that. It could be better, and I can't wait to learn more. I do hope that it is more than 6 episodes, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.